Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexiot's here. Sunday morning. It's time for a Sunday special report. And today we're focusing on the Coaches Challenge in the NBA. There's a new rule that came out this summer that we get two challenges now. If you're successful with the first challenge, you will get a second challenge also in the game. Now, some people have been critical of the Coaches Challenge, in particular, our former coach, Nick Nurse, who earlier this season said he'd like to see the NBA do away with it. But it was really because he thinks that it just kind of stops the flow of the game. They take too long to go look at the footage at the scorers table. And there's other reasons why it's kind of messed up. Last year, we saw people challenging calls and getting penalized for it. It's hilarious. In particular, the stats show that certain kind of calls are not likely to get overturned as much as other ones. And I really looked at some of the statistical analysis of some of these differences with calls, and when they happen in the game also matters also. You're more likely to win a coach's challenge earlier in the game because also it's kind of like, well, it's chicken or the egg kind of thing. It's like, well, do you win the coach's challenge because it's early in the game and you're more likely to only call a challenge on a very slam dunk kind of I'm going to win this challenge kind of thing? Because that is one thing about the coach's challenge is that you lose more often percentage wise going further and further into the game. So let's say your easiest chance to win a coach's challenge is in the first quarter, this second quarter second, the third quarter third, and the fourth quarter fourth. The percentages drop when you get in the fourth quarter, and that's very interesting to me. But it could also be indicative of coaches waiting to use their coach's challenge, and if there's just something so egregiously wrong, well, they'll call it earlier, and that may be more of that effect with why you're more successful with your challenge earlier in the game. Now, people may be calling challenges earlier in the game, knowing that they've got a second one if they're successful. So, in some ways, this kind of theory of like going ahead and challenging something very egregious at the beginning of the game is smart, because if it is very much for sure you're going to win that challenge, well, you'll still have a second challenge later down the road. There was something that Nick did last year that was really, really smart with challenges that I liked. Was he would call a quick challenge in the first quarter if he felt like the whistle was too biased against the Raptors, that he would call them on some shit. He would say, "Oh, challenge, challenge, sorry. I'd like to challenge that foul that you just called on OG Anunoby just now." Okay, and we'll go look at it. Now, if he does it in the first quarter and he's very much correct and the refs are doing some screwy stuff and they get caught, well, they will overrule it. And the effect that that has is that basically Knicks called them on their bullshit right away, and they have to kind of call the game at a different way for the rest of the game. It could be very, very crucial to getting favorable calls by calling them on their shit early and saying, "Look, no, 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 that was not a foul on OG. You are going to go look at that. And, well, you were right, Nick. And we're going to have to change the call." And then the calls after that get better for the Raptors because they're keeping it in mind that they've already been called out for not doing the right fouls there. So I think that's a smart strategy at this point. Nick Nurse's old strategy of calling them on BS on how the foul calls are starting to shape up for the game because there's now a second challenge. So there were times last year when Nick would do the early challenge on the foul calls, and then he wouldn't have a challenge for the rest of the game. So this is kind of like benefits what Nick used to do with this. Is if you want to set a tone with the ref calls early, you want to challenge them on one of those calls, well, this new rule really benefits this kind of idea. You can get them to shape the calls early, and then later you still have one in your back pocket if you're successful with that first one to use if there's really a crucial kind of weird situation. Now, there may be some weird situations with a double challenge at this point where both teams decide they're going to get 4 challenges in, and then they'll happen at a really weird time. Like they may all cluster up right at the end of the game. It can be really dumb stuff like this, where it's like all of a sudden, okay, the Raptors challenge something, they get it successful. Then the next play down the court, the other opponent challenges something and they're successful, and there's still 5 minutes to go in the game, and they still have to challenge each because they were successful. And all of a sudden, we see 4 challenges in the last 6 minutes of regulation play. All of a sudden, because of this rule. Now, that's the nightmare that they kind of have, is like, this is going to drag out the end of games if all of a sudden they have 4 challenges in a row right at the end of the game. Everybody's gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Of course, they have certain rules about the end of the game anyway. If there's any dubious out of bounds or anything kind of weird, they will go and review it on their own without a coach's challenge. They want to make sure they get it right. This is an interesting distinction between the calls you want to challenge and the calls you don't. The calls that you get successful more often when you challenge them are out of bounds calls and goaltending calls. That, listen, you can tell sometimes that, like, whoa, that's a messed up out of bounds call. That wasn't out on us. That was out on them. You better go look. Well, you call that kind of stuff late in the game, you're more likely to be successful with a challenge on an out of bounds play than a foul play. In fact, I do not encourage Raptors coaches to call challenges on fouls. Fouls are one of the worst things you can call a challenge on. I've noticed you're less likely to be successful on fouls, and in some cases, you're going to get punitive like damages because of your challenge on a foul. Seriously, we saw this phenomena last year where people would challenge a foul late in the game, and then it would actually turn around worse for them. Like, seriously, like, they would go back and look, and they're like, actually, that wasn't just a foul, that was a flagrant foul, and we're going to give the other team free throws and the ball afterwards. And it's almost like, whoa, we just challenged you on this. Yeah, you challenged us. How dare you challenge the audacity of you to question the great Tony Brothers? Well, we're going to stick it to you now because you challenged us on this foul. So in some ways, it's really smart for coaches to only challenge out of bounds and goaltending and stuff like that, possession kind of things, because you could challenge a foul and you could get it right, and you could be like, win that challenge, and you still don't get jack shit for it. The other team gets the ball anyway. Well, it's ruled a dead ball anyway, jump ball in the middle court or something, or the other team gets the ball anyway because it last touched you out of bounds, even though it was a foul on them. There's all kinds of stupid ways that you just don't get anything from challenging a foul call. I really think, unless, the other thing about the challenging the foul call is there's this phenomena. All right, first of all, y'all don't know this, but I found this out yesterday. There is a coach on each staff that's in charge of challenges. And last year for us, it was Nate Bjorgren. This year, it's going to be Jama. Jama has been doing the Coaches Challenge coaching spot for Steve Kerr the last couple years in Golden State. And what is that job exactly? Well, what is it? It's to have a laptop or something near you to look at for like 5-10 seconds after the play to nod to the coach whether they should challenge or not. There's literally one coach on each staff that is kind of like thumbs up or thumbs down. And Steve Kerr had that system. He said that with Jama, he said, listen, I don't want any flakiness. Don't tell me maybe you should challenge it. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, a very like distinctive, quick response in those moments. Because they don't have enough time. They don't have that much time at all to get this call in. The refs may be quick and they'd be like, yeah, we're moving along. Whoa. And he's like, whoa, I want to challenge this maybe. He was like, Jama, should I challenge it? Should I challenge it? And John was like looking, he's like trying to review the play because they got to replay it for him real quick on the computer. And he's like, they have things worked out with in-game ops about challenges. If it's your home team, they want you to get that up real quick, get the replay up real quick. So those coaches could look up real quick and be like, yeah, challenge it. But if the other team, this is a really weird old Boston Celtics cheating kind of thing to do, is if the other team has any kind of dubious plays like this where they might want to challenge, they have told in certain arenas not to put their replay up quick. And I've seen this against the Raptors in opposing arenas where we have a call, it's dubious. I'm like, well, I want to see it again. Let me see if it is like something they should challenge. and they don't go to the replay. They're just like talking on camera. They're like, "Oh, how's your day going, Doris Burke?" or something like that. You're just talking to the commentators talking. It's like, show us a fucking replay so we can see if we need a challenge, kind of thing going on there. So there's a gaming to this that's unfair also, depending on who's home and away. Depending on if you're home or away, you may get the challenge call in or not, because a home arena may not help you if you're the visitor, and they may not put up that stuff up there. So you got to do it yourself, and you got to kind of be quick on there. Like they said, you got 5-10 seconds to watch that clip. If you have 20 seconds at the most to get a message to your coach whether they should challenge that call or not. And like I said, there's a coach on each staff that is the challenge coach at this point. And their job is to keep track of like things like all the fouls, to keep track of like different things that are happening in the game. Because, the challenge percentages of whether you should call the challenge or not change. In some cases, you want to call a challenge on a foul to try and save a foul on somebody who's an important player getting closer to fouling out. And so that you may take that challenge just to try and save that player from getting closer to fouling out. And the coach that figures out the challenge has to be like a little mini computer in a split second, and they have to make such a stressful, tough decision. Like the coach for the Boston Celtics that does this did an interview about this job, and he says he hates it. He says one of the most stressful jobs you can have as an NBA coach is to be the coach's challenge coach on your staff. And he can't wait to graduate from that position and not have to do it anymore, because it's super, super stressful. And really, really, you got to be like making a split second decision and hope that you're right. And it's so cut and dry whether you're right or wrong that you can kind of get in kind of crap for it. So it's a very weird job, the challenge coach on a coaching staff. You have to be quick. You have to be decisive quickly. And that Jama was the guy for Golden State the last couple of years. So I'm sure he's going to be our challenge coach again this year. It'll be very interesting. Another factor in challenges, especially with the foul calls, is asking the player. We've seen this in recent years with the challenge calls. Some players going woo, 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 like this. Well, roll it back. I want to look at this. Challenge it for me, coach. Do you believe in me, coach? Call the challenge for me. Sometimes a coach will call a challenge for a franchise player just to show that they really support them. Like, Siakam, you really want me to call a challenge right now? I will call a challenge for you, even if you're completely wrong. I will do it just because I love you and I want to show that I support you and I've got your back. That kind of stuff. Sometimes a player gets really mad when the coach is like, why aren't you calling a challenge? Why don't you call a challenge? And like, we're not going to waste a challenge on this. We don't see the priority. The player may be asked in the moment by the coaches, did you foul him or not? Well, on each player's case-by-case basis, you're going to have to figure out if you can trust them or not. Some of them are liars. Of course I didn't foul him, coach. Call a challenge. And then they go back and look, you did fucking foul him. You lied to us. So the honor system with the players is important with Coach's Challenge. You got to kind of look at who is kind of like honorable or trustworthy as a player. Like you're like, nah, I'm not listening to you. You fool me every time, Joel. You're full of shit. I'm not calling this challenge for you. You lie, Joel Embiid. Yeah, it could be like that. Or they're like, a player's a saint and they're absolutely always trustworthy on this and they're honorable. And it's like somebody like OG says, I didn't foul him, coach. And Darko's like, okay, we trust you, Anunoby. We're going to call the challenge just because of your track record of being very, very honest and very astute with calls. And then boom, they're successful because they trust the player giving them the call from them. Very, very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. There's more about the challenge calls that I can get more in depth in, but I just wanted to kind of give an overview first, and we can get more in the nuts and bolts with you guys. I see you guys have thrown some super chats at me. It's like, pay attention to the chat, Lex. Come on. I wanted to do a little bit of my spiel first in the first 15 minutes. Just kind of make sure I talk about the subject and kind of give some like good insight on it right away, just in case we veer away from the subject in the comments. And that makes the title of the stream apropos. Let's just put it that way. All right, let's see. Trevor J and MSJ. Look at this. Thank you, Trevor J. Thank you, MSJ. Thank you, CC, for the chat and super chats, guys. Thanks. Good to see you. Happy Sunday. Trevor J saying, good morning, Raptors family. Blessings and happiness on a Sunday morning. Yes, blessings and happiness is a great thing for a Sunday morning. Traditionally, a lot of people going to church, got a lot of people going to a place of worship. And yeah, blessings are all about Sunday morning. And once again, just thankful to be up and alive another day for sure. Let's see. Trevor's words of wisdoms are God has 4 gifts for you today: a key for every problem, a light for every shadow, a plate for every tomorrow, or a plan for every tomorrow, I'm sorry, and a day for every sorrow. Wow, that even rhymes. Holy cow. Trevor J dropping the good words of wisdom today with a rhyme. Let me say this and do this justice. God has 4 gifts for you today: a key for every problem, a light for every shadow, a plan for every tomorrow, and a day for every sorrow. Wow, wow, and wow, Trevor J. I love that. This is true. Sometimes blind faith and just kind of like hoping things are going to work out is better than stressing about it and over analyzing it and over managing it. Just let it go to God or your higher power, or whoever you believe in, and let them work it out. And sometimes things mysteriously just work out for you the right way, the way they're supposed to. And that when we try to control too much and we don't have faith that things will be good, sometimes we really hurt ourselves. And thank you, Trevor J, once again for your words of wisdom. Start off the stream. I love it. Cowboys here. Good to see Canadian Cowboy. It is Bradley. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Bam. Well said, Trevor. Yeah, Bradley. This guy is dropping knowledge on us. And I love piggybacking on it by giving the delivery and adding my own little touch to it. Trevor J, you are a wise man, and I appreciate your part in the Raptor Freak family. I really do. Trevor J is also saying NBA Chef put on 2 videos giving Javon liberty, giving him flowers. Also said Raptors front office is the best front office in the league for making the right decision. There you go. This is what I like to hear about what Chef's out there doing. He's putting on good PR for the front office for Bobby and Masai and putting out good words for them in spite of a lot of stupid people putting the opposite out. So thank you, NBA Chef, for fighting the good fight in Project Truth and helping our front office get some, well-deserved recognition for very astute and good moves this summer, considering the atmosphere and environment they're having to deal with. Yeah, very good stuff. Yeah, a lot of people are very high on Javon Freeman-Liberty. And, there's a little bit of ambiguity about whether he's a point guard or a shooting guard. Some people are trying to say he's a point guard right now. I don't see a point guard out there. I see a shooting guard. I see a guy who's liking to hoop it, to shoot it, and not as much liking to pass it. So I don't know. You guys think he's a point guard? Well, we already got enough problems with figuring out who's going to play point guard. So, I won't call him a shooting guard, even though a lot of other people are calling him a point guard right now. Fiercey's here. Good morning to Fiercey Salsera. Scotty Barnes, Switch family. Summer of 2022 is in the house. Fiercey saying, good morning, fam. Happy Sunday. This new coach challenge rule makes sense and can help with inequity in certain calls from the refs when they act up. Reading Bulls fan base are very salty losing Javon. Yeah, they are very unhappy about this. They liked him at Summer League. They saw him tearing it up, and they were like, well, it just makes sense. Bulls front office, get Javon on our team. Well, they didn't. They let him slip. So, that's what I'm saying. That kind of stuff happens. Well, the fans turn on the front office, and they start saying, why did you do this? You suck, and we want you fired. We don't want that kind of stuff. So, look. Raptors Nation, look at the effect that our front office has had on Bulls Nation, how in a tizzy and upset they are about this move, and know that Masai and Bobby are doing a good job because they made them really upset and took something from them. The coach's challenge is a very fascinating, interesting thing, Fiercey. The more I look into it, the more interested I get in it. I mean, there is a lot of power wielded in it. There are problems with it. In fact, I feel like Tony Brothers in particular, because he's an older ref, takes too long watching the TV sometimes. They should time them on the coaches' challenges because often I'll see like a 5-minute period break in the middle of a game just because of a coach's challenge and then watching it over and over and over again. And meanwhile, these guys are standing around doing nothing. They can get cold. And that's a really weird, shady ref manipulation way of screwing with the game, is to go and hang out during a challenge over near there and just kind of take your damn time. That is a really messed up thing, because in some ways, the game of basketball is a game of runs and rhythm and flow. And if you want to dam up that river of flow, go get a coach's challenge real quick. Or, they don't even need the coaches to go over there. They can have officials review and want to just go look at it without the coach initiating it. So that's one aspect about the coach's challenge that's negative and I don't like, is the time consumed doing the coach's challenges can be very disruptive to the natural flow of the sport of basketball being played up and down the court, run around. You stand around too long, well, you get a little ice cold. You're not warmed up anymore because these guys are watching cartoons at the center court. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, thanks, Fiercey, for your comment, and always good to see you in the morning. Yeah, Criscom saying, what up, Lex? 2 questions for you. What do you think about the Freedom signing, and do you get Moses making the team? Thank you, Criscom, for the questions. Great, Criscom. Always making good predictions. You know what? I'll answer them in order. I love the Freedom signing. It's a little weird. At first, I was surprised by it. I was kind of like, whoa, this is just kind of out of left field all of a sudden. But the more I look at it, the more it kind of goes in line with what they did last year. I was hoping Mogi could be this year's Jeff Dowtin Jr. for the Raptors, but it's Javon Freeman-Liberty instead. And I like it. I like it because he was the kind of guy who shined at the summer league so well that he's you can't reject him. You can't be like, "Whoa, that guy's no good." No, that's part of it. Is like Jeff the year before, Javon has shown a body of work of consistent scoring and doing good things for a while. It's not just this summer league that made him look good. He's been looking good for Windy City Bulls last year already, and very consistent in the G League last year. So it just makes sense. You get one of the best G League players from last year, one of the best summer league players from this year, and you put him on your team all of a sudden. And that's great stuff. So it's a body of work that he's been working on, just like Dowtin Jr. was for a couple years to get to where he is now. Now, we found out yesterday Jeffrey Dowtin was signed to his deal yesterday as the last rostered person. But this is the thing. They're going into training camp to battle for these spots. And things can be fluid and switch around really quickly. But Jeffrey is officially in the fold and signed to the Raptors. He has a deal that is laden with incentives for him to make the team, and then he'll make the money. I think his path is already there to just walk through and take it. And then in some ways, we're going to be going through the motions a little bit this training camp, unless they do a shakeup by waiving someone or trading people. There won't really be that much change between the rostered guys at all. I don't think that switching around may be with the 2 ways and the Exhibit 10 and that stuff. We still have another player to name and invite to come to training camp, and it could be Moses Brown, but I very much doubt it will be at this point. There's a very interesting tweets from Desmond Cambridge Jr. yesterday, very open about being rejected by the Raptors at Summer League. He's very real about it. He's just saying, I had an ego check this Summer League. I didn't realize, this is going to be this hard, that I wouldn't be able to get as much time and wouldn't get the chance and wouldn't be successful. He just had it all laid out in his head. Well, that didn't happen. And it's had a real blow to his ego. And he's saying, I appreciate the opportunity the Raptors gave me at Summer League, but this is tough. I'm processing this, and I got to come back and figure out how I can go about pursuing my professional career with this obstacle, this wall he ran into. I mean, he didn't really get to play a whole lot in Summer League, but he didn't impress either. And, Summer League isn't just the stuff that happens on the court. It's the stuff that happens in the ballroom, the stuff that happens at practice. The coach is watching you and kind of seeing how you work. And some of that is how these guys got minutes in the Summer League game. They don't realize it. But Open Gym, very cool episode on Friday, showing Darko introducing himself and saying, look, you have an opportunity here in Las Vegas to showcase yourself to the NBA teams and to the whole world, really. And that's what's going on here, Desmond Cambridge Jr. You had a reality check. You're not as hot shit as you thought you were. And now you're kind of like, wow, where do I go now? I feel like I may be at the end of my professional career as far as getting to the NBA. That's the hard, cold truth and stark reality for a lot of young people that are trying to make the NBA. They just get to that point where, like, holy crap, that was my best chance. And I may not get another chance as good as that ever again. And that's just the sad reality of it. I love seeing Ron Harper Jr. getting on there and tweeting towards him saying, keep your head up, brother, and keep going, kind of thing, giving him words of encouragement. And even though he's disappointed about his summer league experience and not making any kind of headway in the NBA. Very, very interesting, crazy stuff. Yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. So, yeah, I don't think Moses is in the plans. I think that it's all signaled by who we kind of tied up in the last couple of days, who we value from Summer League. Mogi is going to be on 905. That's fantastic. We went and got Javon Freeman-Liberty, sorry. And, that's basically it. Marquise, Grady, they were already in. So, no Moses. I don't think Moses is likely at all. G saying this may be an unpopular opinion to some, but Fred going from undrafted to making history through our system may attract those undrafted gems. Sales pitch. Look at what we did with Fred. Oh, this is undoubtedly for sure and true. And I don't think this is unpopular. I think this is astute and exactly nails it on the head, G. Seriously. I think this is why Champagny came before already. This is why Marquise is here. This is why, guys, I think you're exactly right. That, I mean, they don't even have to give him the pitch. They could just say Fred VanVleet. And they know exactly what they mean when they say that. It's kind of like when we were in press conferences last year after games and players had a shorthand and just saying Fred VanVleet, meaning fuck the refs. Because Fred made that classic, amazing press conference about Ben Taylor this year. And then afterwards, for a while, the shorthand for it was Fred VanVleet. Just like the rep was like, "How did you feel about the game today, LeBron?" It was a tough game. All I'm gonna say is Fred VanVleet. All right, he hates the refs. That's what it is. But I think this is true. And in this way, we could say Fred VanVleet real quick, and people will know exactly what you mean when you're talking about undrafted and making them into something, and the pathways are in the Toronto Raptors franchise. Yeah, I think that's very popular opinion. I think it's exactly correct and truth. Let's see. Tom Duke is here. Good to see my good buddy Tom Duke. Good morning, Lex. Good morning. To see the announcement to the challenge calls. What will be the issues is refs calling the flopping technicals. The other rule that's added, the other big rule that's added this summer is the flopping technical. Now, this is exactly part of the reason why I don't like calling challenges on fouls, is because every single foul that happens on an NBA court has ambiguity. And in some ways, we've realized that it's just a pure part of the thing is that the subjectiveness of the referee's eyes is important in factoring whether they're going to call fouls certain ways. And then also, like I said, all fouls can be looked at as either like a foul on this person or on this person, especially in charged situations where flopping may be involved. So in some ways, this is going to be interesting to see how they deal with this. I know very specifically, you know what a flop looks like. And if it's so egregiously like, okay, you didn't even get touched and you just like fall over, they're going to call it. But the thing is, when they get contact, there's ambiguity once there's really contact about how hard somebody pushes with their arm just a little bit trying to get by somebody with the ball, and whether that's enough for them to just flop and fall right over. So they're not going to call it if there's actually kind of any contact for real. It's really they're going to be going after the overactors, the foul baiters, the ones that are really, really egregiously, okay, yeah, you're kidding me with that. That looks like you're in FIFA. Yeah, you look like a soccer player. The way you just fell over like that, he breathed on you. It's going to be for those calls more the new flopping rule than the ones that may be really like hard to call still. And that's the thing. That's why I don't like coaches' challenges on fouls, because they can still logically, like in their own heads, like give you analysis of that call and say, this is why we justify this is a foul still, even though you don't think it's a foul. Well, his arm was just brushing into him, even though the guy hit him in the face. He hit him with his arm before that. They can make shit up on foul calls to railroad it whatever way they want to. And as I said, there's also the possibility of infuriating them about challenging them on a foul call and them turn around and being punitive and adding like something crazy, like giving points to the other team because they're giving them free throws all of a sudden. It's crazy. That's the call I don't want to see our Raptors coaches calling challenges on is fouls. Fouls are not usually good because even when you win a challenge call with a foul involved, sometimes you don't get jack shit for it. You're successful and you're like, okay, but you don't even get the ball. You don't get anything for it. So in some ways you want to look at what are the stakes of this challenge call. Is our team going to gain anything from it? Or is this just worthless? Like, okay, you called the challenge, you won it, but did you get any real results in the game, like possession or some points added or detracted from the other team? In some ways it's like, what's the point and why did you do that challenge call? And you got to really figure out, well, is this worth it? Like for this point in the game, is it worth it? And all this has to be done in split seconds, in crazy, crazy split seconds like this. Like I said, these coaches that are coaches challenge coaches on the staff, they hate this job. It is so stressful. You got to think about it. You got to stay completely dialed into the game at all times and really on top of every single foul, every single parameter, and being kind of like a gambler in Vegas, assessing the odds in your head continually while you're playing. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like you got to watch, well, now that Siakam's got a fourth foul, I really got to watch out. And if he gets in trouble and gets the fifth foul, that may be like a hair trigger to call challenge just to try and protect Siakam from getting fouled out. But then again, that challenge is probably less likely to win because it's a foul call and it is probably going to be late in the game. And statistically, those are not good things for you to probably win. Like you're not going to win a challenge call on a foul late in the game if it's 50-50. You will not. That's just, they're going to be like, well, this is what we called originally and it's still the right call. You think they're going to go back and change it? If it's 50-50, they will not. If it looks like it could be in your favor, but it looks like it's actually still against you, they will keep the call the same way it was when they called it. So that's why challenging fouls is really like not the best kind of call to kind of challenge. You may be better off challenging an out of bounds to get possession, an extra possession, than challenging a foul. So I don't like it when they challenge fouls. Even goaltending is a little bit in between because that's another one that's kind of subjective in some ways. Like you can look at it and you can say, oh, that's not goaltending. But some of this is like an optical illusion because guys are so tall these days that they're not actually causing goaltending. They're just blocking shots, but they will call goaltending. And another thing is like, what's the risk reward with a goaltending call? Okay, that's 2 points or 3, depending on where they're shooting from. Probably more likely 2 because goaltending more likely happens with closer shots. And then it's like the stakes are just 2 points over like a swing like that. That could be important in a close game. But sometimes that is not as important in certain ways to fight a goaltend call. So, all right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Nako the Nacho is here. Good morning to Nako the Nacho. Javon's a good one from Summer League. Yeah, he's got that seal of approval of Nako the Nacho. Yeah, he's a baller. He's a hooper. He gets out there and he gets after it. He fills up that basket. And that's what I like about him for sure. MSJ's here. Good morning to you, Chris. So Jay Justice now. Wow. Seems like a good move. Any hot takes on this guy for real or just had a good summer? It's Jay Freedom or Freeman, Jay Liberty. Jay Liberty. It's no Justice. No Justice. The Justice Winslow? No, it's Liberty. His name is Liberty. Yeah, I think it's a good move. We'll see. I just think he's a really like kind of like an ingredient that we lacked last year as far as hooper, a guy who can just score. Like I said yesterday, he's the kind of guy you can put in the game real quick and he'll score points for you no matter what. That kind of like a Lou Williams or a Jamal Crawford, a street baller kind of guy that translates really good to the NBA and can just get hoops. Like I said, we have a scoring drought this season. It may be like get Javon and put him in and he will get some baskets when nobody else is able to hit stuff for some reason. He's that kind of guy, Chris. Cool Cat saying, "Good morning, Raptor Freak crew. Greetings from Barbie Land." Cool Cat has gone to see the hip movie everybody's been going to see this weekend. Barbie, da 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 da, Barbie, da 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 da. Did you get in the pink box, Cool Cat? I'll bet there's a selfie or a picture of Cool Cat in the pink box at the movie theater, being all Barbie, Barbie, la 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 la. They had a thing like on Twitter asking which NBA player would be Ken in Barbie, and it was fraught with all kinds of weird answers. Somebody did answer Grady. Out of all the Raptors, they said Grady Dick would be a Ken. Kinda, I guess. I don't know. Trevor, thank you once again. You guys, thank you for the super chats. Very kind of you. Denal saying Bulls fans are livid about not signing this guy. Yeah, they feel like their management is not very good at their job. They feel like they're inept. They're not keeping assets that they value around. They're letting them go, and that's a big problem with Bulls management. You know, Bulls management has been toxic and weird for a long, long time. In fact, in the 90s, the Bulls management was the worst, and they were winning championships left and right. You know, Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause, who were the Jerrys involved in Chicago for the longest time, were very dysfunctional and did not get along. And then you added in the players' personalities with them too, and there were all kinds of stupid hijinks. This would be like the Sixers kind of stuff now, except that kind of stuff back then, except they were able to keep it holding together and still win championships. Pippen hates Jerry Krause. Jerry Reinsdorf's mad at Michael Jordan and arguing with him about his next contract. All this kind of bullshit going on all over the place. David Falk is involved in this. Phil Jackson hates this person. You know, all this kind of bullshit going on with the Bulls, and they still managed to do 2-3-peats in the 90s. It's crazy. Now that they're used to dysfunctional front office, and a lot of people did not like Jerry Krause. They were like, this guy's an asshole. We hate Jerry Krause running our team. In fact, he had James Dolan vibes for a bit there. So the Bulls have a history of like an acrimonious kind of relationship with their front office. And these guys would be villains, and they still like won. And they, in some ways, they love and praise them, but they also hate these guys too, Krause and Reinsdorf. So it's a very interesting situation, the history of the Bulls front office. And, you know, I don't know where they're at with who they're at right now. I think John Paxson's probably around there somewhere. But yeah, Mark Eversley. That's right. He's the one who's running the Bulls right now. Yeah, maybe it is our former Raptor guy, Mark Eversley, dropped the ball with Javon Freeman-Liberty. Yeah. G saying MSJ, he led the entire summer league in points and scoring from what I read. He was one of the leaders for sure. And I think he was also first team. He was like he was on the summer league team, either the first or second or third team, something like that. So yeah, he had a very good summer league. He was one of the top players, and the Raptors went and plucked them away from Chicago. Are haters of Masai going to talk about that victory? You're going to talk about all the things that go wrong. Well, you're going to talk about the victory of him getting that guy from the Windy City Bulls to come and play for Raptors 905 this year. You're going to talk about that? Going to put a shine of light on something positive and good that they did? Or are you just going to look at all their mistakes and their mess ups and just put those on blast? Yeah, there's something you can put on blast that's actually really good about Liberty coming here. Yeah, G saying total points leaders in Vegas. Javon had 82 in 4 games. Cam Whitmore 77 in 4 games. Orlando Robinson 76 in 3 games. Lester Quinones 76 in 4 games. Jabari Smith 71 in 2 games. And David Duke Jr. 70 in 4 games. Yeah, Jabari had a crazy high scoring summer league for sure. But yeah, look at that. He had the most points total in summer league altogether in 4 games out of the 5. He got 82. So that says a lot right there. He was the leading scorer in summer league. That's why we went and got him. Good morning to Dana. I am Canadian. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Dana. Always good to see your name in the chat. Sheer Khan's here also. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. Under the circumstances, Raptors front office did the best they could while trying to retain free agents. 2 out of 3 is not bad. Well, thank you, Meatloaf. We all saw what Fred VanVleet's value was at the deadline, so waiting till offseason was the best move. Yeah. I mean, listen, in some ways, this Fred thing is something we couldn't avoid it. It's a special circumstance. the new CBA. Houston's really crazy, weird position with their salary cap being void, null, nothing, and needing to fill it up real quick or they're going to get penalized. Okay, throw big, huge bags at two of the most inefficient shooters in the NBA, Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. Houston, you go ahead, tie up like a huge chunk of your salary cap on these guys that just don't shoot that good. And yeah, real smart, real smart. Overspend on not efficient shooters. Go ahead, do that, Houston. You go ahead. Yeah, very interesting stuff. Iceman like Urban's here. Good to see the Minutes Police. JFL, Javon Freeman-Liberty measured 6'3" barefoot. Okay, so he's about my height. 8'4.5" standing reach. Okay, so you can get up to 8'4.5". 6'9" wingspan at the 2022 NBA G League Elite Camp. That's when he got measured. That's like a year ago. So we'll have to see where he's at this point. He's a combo guard, or if you like, a scoring point guard. Dowtin Jr. is on a make good camp contract. That's right. Yeah, I don't necessarily like the non-guaranteedness of Jeffrey Dowtin Jr., but I believe in him. I have faith in him, and he's going to come in with a vengeance and kick so much ass in preseason to nail that for sure. And I have total faith in him. So but I hate that it's ambiguous, and in some ways they're making him work even harder to get that spot. Well, make that that work, put it in, Jeff, and just make sure for sure. I'm rooting for you. I know for sure. Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that Javon's a combo guard and or a scoring point guard. Okay. Okay. All right. I don't mind that, but in some ways, I think there's other ball handlers that would probably put the ball in their hands, and let Javon score. Let him be a two guard and let him be the scorer, especially on the 905 level. This guy's going to be tearing it up down there once again, this time in a Raptors 905 jersey. Nako's saying, we didn't sign Dowtin yet. Freeman's pretty strong, and he's a good scorer. We did sign Dowtin yesterday, Nako. We did. We did sign Dowtin yesterday. He has an official contract. Now, it has incentives if he makes the team. But he is signed. He signed him. We signed him yesterday. He's officially signed with the Raptors. And it's about like incentive laden. If he makes the team, then he's going to make a certain amount of money. But he's officially signed in. They signed 3 guys this weekend: Javon, Ron, and Jeff. Jeff got signed yesterday. He was the latest one. So he is signed for sure. It's just whether we cut him or not at the end of the training camp. If somebody else plays better than him that doesn't have a spot, it can steal his spot. So in some ways, he's got to outcompete the 905 guys and whoever mystery 20th person shows up for our training camp is. In some ways, he's got to compete with David O'Banner and the mystery person. And I don't know if he's really competing with the two ways. Those guys are going to be on the team, or they could lose their spot and they could bring in a different two-way. That's another way things could be flexible still. So let's see. Cowboys saying, just verified the bench mob is back. Okay. How did you find this out? And I'm very happy with our front office and Masai. Let's go. Is that the New York, Mr. New York? Is that what you're verifying, that the bench mob is back? Because Mr. New York has showed up, Mr. New York City, Marquise Noel, and he's the new Fred VanVleet, the new leader of the bench mob 2024 that we're starting up this year. Okay, Bradley, I like this. G saying Dowtin is on a training camp and is on our training camp and will get a significant pay increase if he makes the roster opening night. This was the off the top of my head, so correct me if I'm wrong. No, that's exactly right. It's an incentive. If he makes the team, he gets fully guaranteed and he's on the team. I hate this. In some ways, I feel like he's already earned it, but this is the business and they know how to do it. And this is what Masai and Bobby are going to do. Trust in Masai, rely on Masai. That's just how it is. But yeah, that's exactly right. G, don't doubt yourself. You're right. MSJ saying, hate to comment so much, but is this a setup in training camp to see who's better between Liberty and Dowtin and even Harper? Well, the competitiveness is weird this year in training camp because it seems like everybody can get a spot. It's really, really weird, especially if the 20th name that we still need to name is assigned to an Exhibit 10. That means that they're like O'Banner. So basically, this means this. That means, all right, we have 15 roster spots straight up, and they're filled at this point with Jeffrey getting signed yesterday. And if he makes his contract good and makes the team, then it's just all good. Now, then there's the three two ways, and that those are to get to 18. So that's the 18-man roster right there. The 15 and then the 18, and then the other two guys. If it's Exhibit 10 like David O'Banner, the mystery man, they can be on the team too. And it's almost like we don't even cut anybody. It's just everybody gets routed to where they're going to go after training camp. It's kind of like Reggie Perry going to 905 after not getting on the roster. It's like we could sign. Let's just say Reggie Perry is the 20th guy, is the mystery guy. It's not going to be, but we'll use him as an example. And we just stay. Everybody does really, really good, but Jeff is absolutely the best, and he gets that roster spot for sure. The 15th man on our team. Everybody else is fine. We don't trade anyone. We don't waive and sign somebody new. It's just the 15 Raptors under contract, the 3 two-ways, Marquise Noel, Javon, Freeman-Liberty, and Ron Harper Jr., and then David O'Banner and Reggie Perry, quote unquote, as the 2 Exhibit 10s. So basically the two-ways become two-ways. They can play on both teams. The 15 are in the Raptors, and then the 2 Exhibit 10s just go straight to the 905, and they don't play on the regular Raptors, but they're still involved with the Raptors. So I don't know. Like, I'm also wondering, is it still 20 people in training camp, or is it 21 spots in training camp since there's the extra spot with the extra two-way this year? I don't know. I'm not totally getting clarification from the reliable sources like Blake Murphy and Samson Folk. I think it's still just 20 spots in training camp, but maybe I'm wrong. It could be 21. It's so unclear with the CBA changes. It's not like I can just say, well, this is what they did last year, because the rules have changed and it's not exactly the way it was last year, this year. So don't worry about commenting, Chris. Comment as much as you want. Seriously, it helps. And I like hearing your voice in here, and it's not a big deal. G saying, MSJ, looks like the focus is on depth and bench, and that's where the rebuilding is actually happening. They are probably having them compete for spots. The competition may not be to actually make the team. It's where you are in the hierarchy of the team. Are you going to be a starter? Are you going to be a rotation first off the bench? Are you going to be a deep rotation? Are you going to be end of the bench or a backup just in case people get hurt? Are you going to be rerouting to more of the 905 than more the Raptors? That's the kind of stuff they're going to kind of figure out, is pecking order and hierarchy. And it really will be by the best, probably at the best. I'm sure Darko will be rewarding the guys who put the most effort and do the best in training camp and preseason to get to those spots. So this is the carrot you put in front of these players to say, you want to get things on the Raptors this year, you got to earn them and work for them in preseason. And, these starters from last year, the established Raptors, they may have to prove a couple of things to Darko before they just get their stuff back right away. It's a new coach. And he has to, in some ways, that's part of relationship building between players and a new coach, is he has to get to know you and know what he wants to do with you himself. That's why it's ambiguous for somebody like Chris Boucher, who kind of figured out his role with Nick. This is annoying because in some ways he's got to go through things with a new coach and hope that he sees the same things that Nick saw in him and he gets the same kind of like minutes allocations. It could be better for Chris, honestly. Darko may be better for him, actually, and not jerking him around or putting certain pressure on him in the right way. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think it's really more for hierarchy and not necessarily making the team this year. It's more about sussing out the hierarchy of who is where and what part of the roster as far as our depth. And I think that's more about what it's right. G's right, telling MSJ that. Chris is saying, hey, G, remind me, were you at the Real Sports? I can't remember who you were. No, G was not at our Raptor Freak meet and greet. G is one of the originals, though. Been here since day one with me, seriously. Very, very, very dependable, great Raptor Freak that I just, he won the first trivia season. And he's just one of the most knowledgeable kind of people. Like, in some ways, it's like if I need to stand in for intelligence and just like having opinions that probably reflect mine, G's pretty close. G's my dude. I really, really, really like his presence here. But no, he was not at the meet and greet last week, unfortunately. Sheer Khan saying, Lex, in regards to flopping techs, we also have to factor in flinching when someone gets too close too quickly. This is definitely going to be interesting how it is judged for these techs. This is something refs have always had to kind of try and measure, is actual like physical inertia and pushing and force. We can look at something on the court and say, well, you barely touched them, but you don't even realize how strong some of these athletes are. And they can send somebody flying just with a little like finger, woo, ah, and some of it may look like overacting or over, flinching, as you put it. So it's really kind of like in some ways, once again, this is another thing I should talk about with the coaches challenge. The coaches challenge coach on each team kind of does the ref report like we do in the morning for games and looks at the proclivity of that particular ref crew for each game and factors that into how they want to call challenges possibly also. They may know Tony Brothers' profile with the challenges very well, and they're like, okay, we can't call challenges in this situation because Tony is present tonight. That kind of stuff could happen. Now, each of the refs has their own personality and kind of has their own MO about how they ref games, and they'll have different ways that they treat the contact in flopping technicals and flopping situations. In some ways they may be some reps that are very like, okay, that is too much of an acting job. You're definitely getting the flopping tech, and that team's getting a free throw in the ball back. Or there may be guys who'd be like, yeah, I can see how that was not a flop, and they don't call it. So the personality of the referees is very important for all kinds of different things with the refs. As far as coaches challenges and that flopping rule, they're going to be calling it differently depending on which refs out there. So we'll have to see. They may have different kind of ideas about what is a flop and what isn't. And this is something we're going to pay real close attention to this year, Shirkan, for sure. Like I love really putting a microscope on the refs and seeing how they're going to call the flopping technicals. I want them to be sound and just consistent with it. That's the thing. There may not be consistency with how they do it. And we may be like, this is what is this? Seriously. I want to see how they try and get a consistency to it, because it's going to be hard to, because a lot of it is subjective. And it'll be really weird. We'll have to see. This is going to be fun. In some ways, I'm going to be very interested in seeing how they judge it too, Shirkan. Iceman is saying Dowtin Jr. could begin the season with the 905 as an affiliate player if he fails to make the roster out of camp. JFL has a chance to make the main roster as well. Raptors have 3 open camp spots, 21. So they do have 21 spots. Okay. Well, they only have 2 then. Banner is on that list too. So there's 19 guys named as far as going to training camp for us right now. And there's 2 more. Okay, this is a question I needed to figure out. There's 21 spots for training camp. So they did increase it by 1. So we can get 2 more players and invite them. And those 2 players are most likely going to be cut. I'm going to say that right now. The way our team looks right now may actually just be the team. And that these 2 guys that are coming in for training camp, they may get cut. Okay, this is interesting. So even if he doesn't make the main roster, he's going to be on 905 the game this year, no matter what. I like that. I like that we have some security of having Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. around our team, whether he makes the team or not. I have full confidence he will, though. Good stuff, Iceman. Good stuff for letting us know. And yeah, that may be the path, but who knows? Maybe it's a different Raptor who loses their spot to a 2-way or somebody else getting to come to the team. Them being 2 ways, there's not really a lot of incentive to convert Javon right away. It's really kind of at the end of the year, if he's been really so good, like Jeff was last year, that there's a lot of noise to convert somebody from a 2-way to a full contract. It doesn't really usually happen at the beginning of the season. So, because they know they're going to get him on both teams anyway. That's part of the 2-way. So I don't see this happening as far as like predicting JFL getting a path to getting a full roster spot. That doesn't make any sense at this point. I think that Jeff's pretty much ensconced in it. And if they were really trying to give Javon a full roster spot, well, they might have given him the contract they gave Jeff Dowtin Jr. yesterday instead to Freeman-Liberty. So yeah, see, I don't agree with this. I think that the leeway is different and weird than other years in the past with the Raptors going into training camp as far as the roster questions and flexibility. In some ways, last year it really was making a couple spots and cutting a couple people, like Gabe Brown and different people. And the year before, it was cutting a couple of people too. But this year is a little bit different. It's a little bit different. I think it's kind of like, kind of what I said, going to look at the depth and the hierarchy of how they should have who, where, when, with what. G saying no, he was not there. Yes, he was not there. Thank you though, Iceman, for confirming there's 21 spots in the training camp roster. Let's see, Iceman saying Muhammadu Gee, Kevin O'Banner. NBA teams can designate up to 4 players that they cut during camp as affiliate players, meaning those players will join that team's NBA G League affiliate. Yeah, I like that. I like that. And also, Iceman saying these players are signed under contract with the G League rather than the NBA team, meaning they are technically free agents who can be called up to any of the 30 NBA teams. Yeah. Yeah, that's how it works. Like, we don't have specific rights to them. It's not like, all right, somebody could call up Marquise Noel in the middle of the G League season. No, because he's a two-way. And that's the difference between the affiliate players and the two-way players. Affiliate players are going to play for 905, but they're free agents to the rest of the league and can get signed and go to other teams all of a sudden, like a Reggie Perry goes to Portland Trailblazers. All of a sudden, that kind of stuff. Now, all right, good for clarifications. Iceman really doing some of the logical Raptors fanatic work right now, filling in answers on just basic questions about how the rules are right now. And I appreciate that, Iceman. Information is always good coming from everybody. Yeah, MSJ saying Liberty, haha, shows how much I knew. Seems like a bench score. Thank you for your explanations and all. I saw Oppenheimer last night, but the staff were all dressed as Barbie. Laugh out loud. Gotta go. Have a good day. That seems like some sort of surreal, like the world is on fire, but we're going to just have really crazy hot pink aesthetic around anyway. You know, the whole way this has been promoted, these 2 movies is really calculated. They kind of really want to promote people to go to the movies, obviously, and they're making a big deal out of it. It's almost like everybody go to the movies because we got these movies that you guys got to go see. Is like what's going on right now. The powers that be are shoving this stuff down our throats. And the dichotomy of Barbie and Oppenheimer is kind of like gross in some ways. You know, the story of Oppenheimer, the movie that MSJ went to go see, is very serious and gross and sad and kind of messed up. And it's like a cautionary tale in some ways. I haven't seen it, but knowing the story of the man who created the atomic bomb and everything that created for the world is not good. And to juxtapose it against a child's toy movie in like this whole thing is in some ways it's a very deceitful way of the mass media and the powers that be to kind of like make a parody of life and like destruction and darkness. Oh, let's couple Oppenheimer with Barbie and everything. Yeah, the light and the dark. Oppenheimer, and we live in this atomic age where we could all get blown up by nukes because of this guy's invention. But go watch this kid's toy movie too. And there's a false equivalency to this that makes it all kind of a joke. And that's the thing that bugs me about this. Some people are saying that Oppenheimer movie is going to be one that's going to be seen for hundreds of years and be part of what documents what has happened. You know, very much like the Social Network movie about Zuckerberg and his early days with Jesse Eisenberg. That movie, in some ways, is more important than its time and where it was made because this is the kind of shit that people in the future will go back and watch to learn the biographies of what happened. So there's a real responsibility with how this stuff is portrayed. So, yeah, in some ways, the movie that MSJ went to go see is a very serious, important movie. The other movie, the one that Cool Cat went to go see, I mean, it's important in its own ways as far as updating the messages, about patriarchy and different things like that. Some people are really upset about the Barbie movie, which I love. But also at the same time, I'm not getting it twisted. This whole weekend of movie extravaganza was all calculated to help that economy and that industry get a bunch of money real quick. And I don't fault y'all. Y'all enjoy going to the movies, go to the movies. But they very much wanted everybody out the movies this weekend. And there was a lot of weird like pressuring on social media. Who's going to Oppenheimer? Who's going to Barbie? Or go and see both of them in a row. Like, what the fuck? This is crazy. You're going to go sit down and watch Barbie, and then you're going to go watch Oppenheimer right afterwards. This is some crazy stuff. All right, cool. Chris, you have to maybe give us a little bit of a review on Oppenheimer there. All right. Sheer Constant, I think MSJ was referring to the democratic values, liberty, equality, and justice for all. I'm just happy that the vibes are starting to come back. Solid two-way, and now Dowtin back in the fold. We back. Hashtag we back. Yeah, I think it's cool that the guy's name is Liberty. It's interesting. His uncle played in the league. His name was Marcus Liberty. I remember that guy. So he has a relative that played at the NBA, Marcus Liberty. So there's a few of these guys. Liberty. It's like he's almost like he's a throwback to the bubble and them wearing all those jerseys. It's like there was a Liberty jersey, wasn't there? Like everybody said Black Lives Matter, Justice. I think that was what Mark Gasol was wearing. Justice on the back of his shirt. I think somebody was wearing Liberty too. This man could be wearing his shirt, his regular jersey, and he's putting on one of those special jerseys for that period of time that summer when everybody took their names off and put slogans on the back. Liberty would fit. Liberty would very much fit. Denal saying, I feel bad for Cambridge Jr. He's looking at Liberty right now and seeing himself. He's of the same archetype, a microwave that's a bucket getter, but he didn't produce, sadly. Hopefully, we can get him on 905. That's interesting. Yeah, I feel kind of bad for people that, this sucks. Reality checks can suck, especially if you have dreams and your dreams kind of get crushed a little bit. It sucks. I know, seriously. And, it is what it is. This is just how it's supposed to be. And this is why we should respect the players that play in the NBA more, is because it's really hard to get there and to stay there. It's hard to. And we need to respect this. Somebody like Desmond Cambridge Jr. is a very good player. He could go down to the court and kill any one of us on the court, but he's not good enough to make even the G League in some ways, and to make the Raptors G League. So that's reality check right there, specifically for Desmond. But the reality check is for all of us. Honestly, it is hard to make the NBA. It is very, 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 very hard. Dr. Good Vibes is here. Good to see the doctor here to prescribe some good vibes on a Sunday. Yeah. Good morning, sir. Happy Sunday to everyone. I love this Morgan Freeman singing. Probably the most exciting singing so far. Let's go Raptors. Morgan Freeman signing. Oh, Morgan Freeman singing. I thought you meant was I singing like Morgan Freeman today? I was like, wait. Oh, the Morgan Freeman signing. Yeah, it's Javon Freeman. He's like acting like we signed Morgan Freeman. I would be like questioning that sign. Like if Morgan Freeman was the leading scorer at Summer League, that would be awesome in some ways. But I would also be like, why? He's like 80 and his amazing voice, but I did not know he was a baller like this. Wouldn't that be crazy if like all of a sudden next year Morgan Freeman showed up to the Summer League at Las Vegas and he had like a ABA jersey on and he's like, I've come from the past. And I've come here to kick all you youngsters' asses and show y'all how to play this game fundamentally right. And then he's like perfect. His ball handling is like awesome. He has crazy good footwork. His shot is technically absolutely perfect. Yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be really weird if Morgan Freeman showed up to Summer League and did that. I'd be here for it. I'd be like, yeah, Morgan Freeman, tear them up, just like you were Dr. J on the New Jersey Nets in the late 70s. Yeah, tear them up. He gets up there, he throws it down on them. I was like, yeah, and he's still 80. It'd be crazy. It'd be pretty cool, actually. I like that. Stargate saying, good morning, Raptor Freak family. The key to Jeff making this team is showing he is the best defender of all those guys fighting for a spot. His defending is hopefully what should put him over. Yeah, and his time put in, his arc of development and getting better in the year or so that he's been around the Raptors now. He showed such good effort and consistency in Summer League that built into getting the two-way in the first place last year. And then he showed good consistency in regular season games last year, along with pretty good consistency on 905 level. There were times where he'd disappear on 905 and wasn't there for them all the time. But for the most part, he was very steady and mistake-free. It's just maybe he wasn't hitting his shot all the time. But otherwise, he was doing really good stuff besides if he wasn't hitting his shot. So he's got to continue to prove to them. Now, there's a couple of things we've shown. He's shown a dedication, hanging around Toronto this whole summer, even though he's in limbo and not technically on our team. He was a restricted free agent, but he still showed up at all the functions, his face all over the place. We saw him at Summer League putting shots up behind the guys, getting interviewed like crazy. We didn't see him play, but I saw something in his arms that looked bigger, like he's been lifting more, and he's actually got like stronger arms now. So he's getting developed on the down low, and hopefully while his recovery from surgery, he's made good headway. I don't know. In some ways, I feel like he's confident, but also it seemed like when he was sitting in that room on Open Gym And listening to Darko's introduction thing, he kind of looked like he was a little bit befuddled, a little bit. I guess that may be the word. And kind of like, it's like it's got to be tough to be in his position. It's like you're going up a hill. It's got sand that's like going underneath you, and you're trying to get up, but it's kind of like dragging you down as you're still trying to get up. So you really got to scamper to get up that hill and get your full roster, regular NBA contract. And he's close, but he's still got to scramble a little bit more up that slippery sand hill. And it's not going to be totally for sure, but I think he's close, and I think he's going to get it. I think he's going to get it. And you're going to say his defense is going to be the difference. I think that in some ways, I hope that Darko can analyze our guys better than Nick and just get more out of them. In some ways, hopefully Darko says some real treasures in Jeff's game, and he finds reasons to play him on the court for really good reasons out there. I'm all about that. Big D's here. Good to see Big D, a new name in the chat every morning, 9:30 a.m. We're talking Raptors here on the Raptor Freak channel. It's going back to development and depth. Yeah, we got to get back to that. We've had such an anemic bench. We've had really poor depth on our team. At times we felt like this is good depth, but no, it isn't. And people will say, well, that's the front office's fault. Well, in some ways, I don't blame the front office for the depth issues. They got players here. We played them. We went to Tampa and we played a crazy season where a bunch of people got COVID, and we played whoever the fuck we had to play, and we played. But the last couple of years since then, Nick has been very selective. There's haves and have-nots. And I blame that for our depth problems in the last couple of years. More Nick putting a gate and gatekeeping people out like Malachi Flynn. And that these guys could have been more contributing off our bench, and we would have had more depth if Nick had just allowed it. So in some ways, I don't blame Masai and Bobby for roster construction and our lack of depth the last couple of years. I just blame Nick's gatekeeping, because he basically didn't allow for us to have any kind of bench depth, because he choked everybody out with this overplaying the minutes on the starters. So yeah, I'm all about going back to development and depth. Just like Big saying here. I'm with that. Tom Duke saying there really should be some great vibes and competition for Darko's attention in our preseason. Let's go. All right, Tom Duke. I love hearing that from the West Coast. Yeah, I mean, the vibes were cool. Like I said, he had like a weird energy in one part where he seemed like he was absolutely screaming and moving around like, wah! He was like doing this, like this. I'm like, whoa, what is Darko doing in that clip on Open Gym? He's like, wah! And he's like, I like this. He's not afraid of being a little silly and getting loud and getting crazy to get a point across about energy. He's like, wah! It's pretty cool. Cowboys saying, what's your starting lineup and bench, Lex? And I was saying freedom off the bench. Got bench mob all over it. Maybe a 6 man of the year. Also, I love every player we have, but I'm worried about Flynn. There's a lot in there from Bradley. All right. My starting lineup. Well, I'm going to say 4 guys for sure will be in that starting lineup. Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Jakob Poeltl. But after that 5th spot is flexible. And I think there's 3 good candidates for that 5th spot. Schroeder, Gary Trent Jr., and maybe even possibly Precious. Those are the 3 guys I kind of look at as possibly like if the 4 for sure that I named. And then who could be the other starter, Gary or Dennis, or even Precious? Then Precious lineup would be very interesting because it would mean Scotty is the point guard for sure, and OG's playing shooting guard. And then you got Pascal at small forward, Precious at power forward, and Jakob at center. And that is a nasty, big, crazy, nasty lineup. In fact, that may be our best team this year. Seriously. If Scotty can play point guard, fine. And there's not many turnovers. He's doing mostly everything good. We should do this lineup of Precious at the 4 and be big and be really bully kind of people in some ways. I'm kind of interested in that. All right, let's see what else. You're saying maybe 6 man of the year for freedom. I think that's a long shot. 6 man of the year is really around Gary's aptitude and level on the team and not as deep as Freeman-Liberty. So it's more likely Gary could get 6 man of the year this year. Let's see. And then you're worried about Flynn. Well, we'll have to see. This is another part of the unspoken thing. In some ways, Jeff may have more safety and security than Malachi. Think about this. If Malachi's been on this team for 3 years and he doesn't show up and wow Darko, and Darko's kind of like, Masai, I don't really think we need Malachi, and we could move this guy. He could get waived. He could be the guy who gets waived this preseason, and they're flipping his spot for somebody new coming in. So yeah, I can see why you might be worried about Malachi. He needs to show up and do exactly what Jeff's doing too. Nobody's spot is guaranteed except for those really, really good players that are badasses at the top of our lineup. Nobody's spot is guaranteed. I want to say that about Thaddeus and Otto also. These guys need to show up and show that they're healthy and ready to play in training camp, and then they'll probably be fine. But there's nothing guaranteed. There could be a very good deal, and it's smart for us to move those veterans to get something else coming in here. So it's in everybody's interest to come in on the right foot and show really good stuff to the new coach. Everybody's interest. Stargate saying, I think the odd man out in Darko's system could possibly be Precious. Not a big Precious fan. I think he has a very low basketball IQ. I don't agree with that. The talent is there, but in my opinion, he's not very smart basketball-wise. I don't agree with that at all. I get what you're saying. There's different things about, like, look, I don't think Precious is dumb at all. Like, seriously, I think that this dude knows more about what than you think. I don't even think he's that bad. People have weird issues with Precious and thinking that he's reckless or he's just wild and he's hard to, like, he's not playing within control. But that's not actually true. He just looks like he's out of control when he's out there dribbling around and doing what he does. It's really, he's a chaos agent. He's really got a guy who can strike fear in people real quick. If you see Precious coming down the court real quick with the ball, yeah, some Raptor fans are like, oh my gosh. And they're kind of holding their heads like, what's going to happen? But other people on the other team are also like, holy shit, what is this 6'9" freight train coming at me? Pure muscle. And look at the speed on him. And just, I have no idea how I'm going to stop him. And boom, he's going right around Joel Embiid in the playoffs and dunking it on the Sixers. In some ways, Precious is really, really more focused and directed than you think. It's just that he looks chaotic. He's not actually. He makes mistakes, sure. But in some ways, if you look at his mistakes at this age, at this point of his career, going into his third year, compared to like the mistakes that OG and Pascal were making going into their third year, this dude's ahead of them. Seriously, this dude is actually ahead of OG and Pascal where they were going into their third year, as far as like how much I like trust them to not turn the ball over. So in some ways, I got to totally disagree with this. I think Precious is on the down low, a real big key to our huge next championship. That this guy is the X factor, that this guy is the guy that nobody's kind of keeping in track of. Like, they think about the Raptors, they think Scotty, Pascal, blah, blah, blah. But Precious is an afterthought. But Precious is also kind of like Scotty, whereas he has an amazing talent that can blossom into some other level of stardom. And that's the thing that people aren't counting on. They're saying, well, why are the Raptors going to get better? There's the same mid team they were last year. Well, we say Scotty's going to get better, but we don't always say Precious is going to get better also. And that's the thing that's going to be interesting. Now, Darko can unlock Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain, and those Grizzlies down south. I'm pretty sure he can unlock Precious some too. So don't sleep on Precious. I'm telling you right now, Stargate, we are absolutely opposite on our opinions on Achiuwa, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But watch. I'm very excited about Precious's future with our team. And it may seem like he's an odd man out, but in fact, he may actually be a pet project for Darko in certain ways. Like if he treats him like he treated Jaren Jackson Jr., this is good for Precious. Trust me. This is very, very good. Tom Duke saying it is 21 indeed. Iceman, I appreciate your knowledge and facts. Fact nuggets. Ooh, better than Buffalo Nuggets or Yak Nuggets. That's what it was. Yak Nuggets. Man, we just did a flashback to the real mascot matchup. Yeah, better than Yak Nuggets. Fact Nuggets. They'll call Officer Malloy and Officer Foster. No worries. We appreciate you, Iceman. You've been a great addition in recent months to this channel, and I hope you enjoyed the channel also being part of our community. Let's see. Sheer Constant. I like the fact that Banner spent 5 years playing in college, polishing his skills for the NBA. Pretty good from long range and rebounds well. I wonder if one of the last spots for training camp is a C. Yeah, I'm going to guess that there probably will be another C, and that could be where Moses Brown circles back and comes in somehow, some way. I don't think he's eligible to play for the G League though, so he doesn't fit for the affiliate contract that Iceman was talking about earlier. It's kind of like I don't know where Moses is. He's in a weird limbo as far as where he is in his career at this point. It's almost like you have the ramping up as a young player, all these opportunities like G League and two ways and stuff like that. But when you get to like your fourth year, you lose the status to be able to do all that stuff. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. And it could be Moses Brown. I don't know. Is he going to show up at our training camp still? I don't know for sure. I think they would have done it already if he was, though. Big D saying, do you think the young guys watch Open Gym and say that this is a good organization to be part of? Yeah. Yeah, even we found out last year that DeMar is an avid watcher of Open Gym no matter what. Even though he's been gone and maybe painful for him to watch the Raptors, he loves watching Open Gym. DeMar DeRozan. He said it's like, I can't miss an episode of Open Gym. I wonder if he's still going to watch it right now. He probably will because Pascal's still his dude. But Fred being gone makes him less likely to care about Open Gym to a certain extent because it's more and more of his people are leaving. Well, there's still OG around and Jakob. Of course, Jakob and him are close, being a part of that trade, and also being in San Antonio and Toronto together before that. So, DeMar's watching as an old head. I don't know how many different people are watching it. I mean, maybe some young players watch it. I'm sure Marquise is all about watching it right now. He may be going back and watching it. I mean, it's such an interesting phenomenon, Open Gym. In some ways, it's like our video blog for like over 10 years now. And it's like we can go back to different chapters and periods of the Raptors, different versions of it, and we can go relive it because Open Gym's there. You can go watch season 5 of Open Gym with Dwayne Casey coaching us and DeMar and Kyle and Terrence Ross running around on this team and be like, wow, I'm so glad they did this. In some ways, it's like a time capsule. In years and years from now, when the Raptors are like a 100-year-old franchise, everybody will remember the early part of the franchise because they have it documented and they can go look at it. In some ways, I was like, why aren't they doing this with more sports teams around professional sports? And well, they did start doing more with the NFL and different access shows like this. It's almost like Open Gym is like the standard bearer of this in professional sports. This is how you do it with the production, the sound, the editing, the whole kit and caboodle. Open Gym is the standard for that in sports. And like Hard Knocks or whatever other stuff they got in the NFL and other sports, it's really held to the standard of Open Gym. And in some ways, it does not beat it. It really doesn't. The people that make Open Gym are absolutely super talented. Cinematographers, just everything they're doing. This is not a normal sports show. These people should be making movies, honestly, because they are good at their job. And that is the standard for every single kind of like sports program that's a reality show like that is Open Gym. I think young players do watch it and they get to know a little bit about what Raptors are like. It doesn't hurt for them to see the inside of the OVO Center. It seems such a high, top of the line practice facility. It doesn't hurt to see some of the personalities around the team, like Masai and Bobby, interacting with people and saying, wow, I want to be that dude. I want to be like Marquise Noel and get signed to a two-way contract with the Raptors. That would be awesome. That doesn't hurt. It is actually really good PR. And in some ways, it is calculated for that to be that by our franchise. So, yeah, good question, Big D. Thank you. Stargate saying Marcus Liberty played with Nick Anderson and Kendall Gill at Illinois. They were a pretty good team. Those were the days. College basketball was the ish. Oh, Stargate. Thinking about the days of college basketball when Weber and Rose played for Michigan. And those great days of running Rebels with Larry Johnson and Stacey Augman. And the way that basketball used to be in college basketball was something else. The days of Dean Smith and Tar Heels. Yeah, those were the days for sure. Those were the days. Yeah. Dr. Good Vibes is singing phone typo. It's all good. Sometimes the typos and the corrections are actually really fun to kind of improv off of. So thank you, Dr. Good Vibes, for the phone corrections, autocorrect problems. Signing. Yeah. Oh my God. Just making jokes because his name is Freeman. Okay. So you did mean to write in Morgan. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I knew you meant Morgan Freeman. You didn't just mean Javon Freeman. Carlos saying, "Good morning, Lex. Watching you on vacation here in Niamo. I never say that word right. I know it's like a treat you can get. It's a Canadian treat, but I never Niamo bar. Isn't that how you say it? Fucking but he's in BC. He's on vacation. Have a great vacation, Carlo. And I feel very honored and privileged to be a part of your downtime and on your vacation and stuff. That's awesome. I love that. Dr. Good Vibes is saying, yeah, don't underestimate Precious. He just needs to understand exactly what his game is. In some ways, Nick didn't do him any service because he didn't have like a regimented system and a place for him. And he's kind of like, Precious, do what you're going to do. Okay, Nick, I'll do what I can do. And I'll have all y'all kind of gasping at the end of your seats. Like, oh my gosh, what's Precious doing now? In the beginning, when Precious showed up, remember, it was like threes. Everybody's like, don't let Precious shoot threes. No. And all the fans would get so upset after the games because Precious was attempting 3-point shots and they didn't think he was a 3-point shooter. Well, this is what Precious said when he showed up as a Raptor after that trade with Goran Dragic. He said, I don't limit myself. I don't have a limited mindset. He has an unlimited mindset where he expand and grow into any kind of idea of what he could possibly be. And that's why when y'all told him, no, you're not a 3-point shooter, he was like, fuck y'all. It's like, I'm going to shoot these. And he actually did really good at them. And now we kind of we accept him as a 3-point shooter. So that's a lesson right there on Precious right there is y'all tried to box him in and say, no, you're not a 3-point shooter. Well, he didn't let y'all put that box on him. And he went and made himself because he's actually one of our better 3-point shooters on the down low. If you really think about it, last year, he was hitting key, tough, high-pressure threes when people like Fred were clanking him. Seriously, Precious was very good at three last year. So in some ways, that's why I use that as an example of like when you think about Precious, don't count him out and don't tell him he can't do stuff because he's the kind of player that can do anything on the court. He can do anything on that court if he decides. So we're just going to need to get a structure that teaches him what his role is so he can really fill that role and help lead towards winning. And that's what Darko's going to do. Figure out what these guys do that helps lead towards the team overall winning and really get these guys into their roles. And I'm all about that for sure. For sure. For sure. All right, let's see what else. Cowboys saying Masai and the front office built a championship team this offseason, players and coaches. Chomp, can't wait to see all y'all at the parade. Let's go, Raptors. Tom, book your plane ticket. Bradley, always so enthusiastic and just so hyped. He's like, get the parade ready. This man wants that second parade real quick. And he's telling Tom, you better get ready to come back to Toronto again. And look, Tom's got the plane. He's flying over. He's got the tower. He's got his crazy star eyes. He's got the cup. He's got the Raptors. He's partying. Yeah, we know what Tom returns to Toronto. It's going to be a great reunion of Tom being back in the 416. That's right. It was so fun earlier this year. All right, Stargate saying, yeah, it's okay. We agree on some things and disagree with other things, which is okay. For example, I agree with you on Moses Brown, and he is not an NBA player. Laugh out loud. Yeah, if we all agreed on everything, well, we'd be like conform. We are all robots. And this may be where we get to in some ways with this AI crap coming. It's like, if y'all think AI is going to destroy the world, why are you all like continuing to make it and do things with it? If y'all are so worried about it destroying the world, what is this? It's like, I'm going to stub my toe this morning. Yeah, I'm going to go run into this table in my living room. I'm just going to stub it like at 4:00. Well, why are you going to do that if you know you're going to do that? I planned it. I'm going to just do it anyway. But that doesn't make any sense. If you know that's going to hurt you, and it's not going to be good for you, you stubbing your toe, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm just going to plan to kick my foot into the table at 4:00 today just to hurt myself. I feel like that's what we're doing with AI right now. Did we learn anything from John Connor, Sarah Connor in the Terminator movies? Like, seriously, there's all these memes online about people joking. It's like, y'all didn't take me seriously. And it's Linda Hamilton. And people are like, yeah, maybe we need to listen to fantasy James Cameron movies, because in some ways, we're actually just walking right into that destiny, you idiots. So in some ways, I'm like, can we cut the cord on AI already, please? Because in some ways, the direction we're going could be like Oppenheimer and his stupid ass atomic bomb. Do we need more things that are just, destroy humanity in this world, like an atomic bomb or AI? Do we need these things? Seriously? It's like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, let's keep going. Tom Dick saying 2024 NBA champions, Toronto Raptors. 2024 NBA champions, Toronto Raptors. Just speak it into existence. You say it a couple times, it could come true. Make it more real by putting the words out of your mouth into existence. That's what I'm saying. In your own life, if you have a short-term goal, a long-term goal, speak it out. Speak it your truth and make it happen. That's what I'm saying. This is how people go get it done. Believe it, say it, put it out there, and it becomes more real when you say it in real life. Toronto Raptors, 2024 NBA champions. Yeah, I put it out there. It's in the ether now, bouncing around. Maybe it could happen. See, who knows? Enough of us say it all the time. Maybe it happens. Who knows? Who knows? All right, let's keep going. Let's see. Tom's also saying, don't know why my flight took me to Paris. Wrong tower. Have a good day. Lex, you butchered Nyamo bar. I know. Maybe I need to get a BC stat because I don't know how to pronounce that word. I don't know why. I think it's the ends. The ends are messing me up. Nyamo. Oh, damn it. I know I butchered it. Your flight took you to Paris? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy. All right, Dr. Good Vibes saying you still didn't get it. I'm talking about Freeman-Liberty, but calling him Morgan Freeman, saying it's a nice sign. No, I know you meant that. I know you meant Javon Freeman-Liberty and not Morgan Freeman. But the idea of Morgan Freeman schooling a bunch of people on a court at his age, that would be cool to watch. Seriously, if Morgan Freeman had ball and he just showed up at Summer League and he's like, I'm going to try and make the NBA this year. And he just comes in and he's just like balling. He's like going through the legs and he's just like killing everyone. I'm here for it. I am here for that. I want to watch Morgan Freeman torch some people on the court. Seriously. All right, let's see. Denelson, I don't know if anyone knows, but I heard that there was some stuff going on with Dalano outside of basketball, which is why we let him walk. Him being away from Toronto is better for him. Anyone know what? Well, this is all speculation and rumor. I mean, I've heard a little bit of rumblings about this also, Denal, but I'm not going to say anything particular. I mean, we've talked about the trappings of playing for your hometown team and all the pressures and the people that could come out of the woodworks and be a problem in certain ways. Well, maybe Dalano was compromised by past connections and people that were coming around and they just weren't the right people to be around or different issues because of that. So we'll have to see what's up with that. It doesn't really matter. It's all just happened. In some ways, that's the TMZ tabloid kind of stuff that we just don't need to know. In some ways, we want to respect him still as the first drafted Toronto player for the Raptors. And, his place in the history books in his honor is still important. It may not have gone right for certain reasons. He may have been the immature young player that Fred was talking about, but it's all done and gone. He's gone now, so we don't have to worry about it. And hopefully we've got our team in a good place with the right people that all connect, and there's not going to be any of this weird shit from last year. Because that was weird last year. It was very weird, as Chris put it. For sure. It was very, very weird. Yeah. Dr. Good Vibes likes my Morgan Freeman riffing today. Yeah, he'd be awesome out there. He's like, young man, you think you're going to take Morgan Freeman? No, you're not. And he's like, and then he's around them and he's dunking on their heads. That'd be so awesome. Oh my gosh. Stargate saying Lex talking about UNC and Dean Smith. Remember that team with Eric Montrose, Rick Fox, and King Rice? Or Jim Bohein's Syracuse teams with Derek Coleman and Ronnie Cycli and Sherman Douglas. Yeah, the Syracuse Orangemen back in the day with Derek Coleman. Woo! We are talking about the old flavor of college basketball, one that many, many long for still. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about Eric Montrose. Well, what about Vince Carter? Why not talk about him if you're going to talk about UNC? Yeah, fiercely saying, I like the sound of that. Toronto Raptors 2024 NBA champions. Well, were people saying Denver Nuggets NBA champions 2023 last year and maybe people laughed at them? Lakers fans like, ha, Nuggets, you think you're going to win the championship this year? It's like, yeah, Denver Nuggets NBA champions 2023. Oh, that sounds so stupid. Yeah, how stupid does that sound now? That's what I'm saying. This is a league of parody. And if you think you can't get it, well, you can. But if you think you can, you can. And that's why I think we can, because I think we can get it because I want to go get it. But if you don't think you can, then you won't. You can't. That's basically everything in life. It's the same thing. If you don't think you can, well, then you can't. You can't. But if you think you can, well, go and do it, and you can. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. Yeah. Our team is looking really good. I like that. Manifesting. That's right. Manifesting. Manifesting. Trust in Masai. Rely on Masai. Fuck Brooklyn. Manifesting. Yeah, I like it. G saying, I heard there was some personal stuff here for Delano and distractions as a result. Something with friends and family. Don't know any details though. Yeah, I don't like that. And that's what we were worried about for a Rexdale bus, is that there were going to be people that are coming from the woodworks, from his back in his history. And it's like, oh, Delano, you remember me? Fourth grade, Mount Olive. Yeah, yeah, come see me, Delano. It's time to pay the piper. Ah, it's like, what? No, not you. Who knows what the fuck happened as far as all that. I want him to be safe and happy and okay, Mr. Banton. Yeah. Yeah, Cowboys saying bold predictions. We win all the games against Philly and fuck Nurse. All right, I don't want to fuck him. And I also think we won't have these close games like last year where we're going to be winning by 15 plus points. No more close games. Let's go. I hope that's right. I mean, that's good for all of our stress and blood pressure. Cali stress meter don't need to be no high this year. If we can keep the games at a good margin above, and there's no like stress of that. But in some ways, there's no kind of like solace in a lead in the NBA anymore. The scoring is so quick and comes so quickly, and there's weird ways to score a lot of points really fast. 4-point plays, flopping technicals, getting the ball back after getting free throws because of certain calls with refs at this point. You can make up margins quickly. We know a 10-point lead is not anything like it used to be at this point. It used to be a good lead. It's more like a 5-point lead now. And a 20-point lead is more like a 10-point lead at this point. So it's really tough to get comfortable in NBA games at any point at this point. If we learned anything from the play-in game or even the summer league games that we had this just a couple weeks ago, that you can have a 17-point lead, don't mean jack shit. No, you can have a 17-point lead in the third quarter and you can be like, we're gonna win. No, you're not. If you're gonna act like you can win already in the third quarter, you will lose the game by the end of the game. And that happened to us in the play-in game and also in a couple of those summer league games. We had a good lead, we let up, and the team comes back. So it's really worse than ever, Cowboy. The scoring is up. It's easier for teams to score points quick, and no lead is safe than ever. So getting this kind of security with no stress, yeah, that's not likely. I wish, but I would like to win games that are like handily, like we kick the other team's ass and it's not even close and we can just enjoy it and there's no stress. But I don't see that happening. I think there's going to be a lot of close games, but hopefully we execute and win them and we're on the W side of the close games. Fiercely saying, you put your mind to it, you will accomplish it. That's right. This is part of why I don't like negative, toxic Raptors Nation, because y'all are defeating us before they even get a chance. Y'all defeated them in your own heads. Okay, you don't think they'll do it? Well, you don't allow your head to be expansive enough to allow it to happen. That's what I'm saying. Let's start at the top, baby, and aim for the highest and just start there and really visualize and manifest and just make it happen. If you don't think you can do it, you won't do it. If you think you can, you're more likely to be able to do it. And that's a big, big part of mindset and having the right frame of mind to accomplish things. If you don't think you can do it, you won't. It's just how it is. And a lot of fans already say, oh, the Raptors can't do this, the Raptors can't do that. Yeah, you're limiting them with your own mind. Thank God your mind is just your mind and not the perception of a young player like Precious Achiuwa. No, he doesn't think that way like you do. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Denal saying we need a Lex impersonation of Kendrick Perkins talking about the Toronto Raptors and how Pascal and Scottie can't coexist. Then of any analysis how the switch to being fans during our run can't coexist, and then of any analysis how the switch to being fans during our run. Okay, I don't. All right. In some ways, I'm not comfortable doing an impression of Kendrick Perkins because I don't watch him. I don't really know his vocal inflections, and I don't really know any of his mannerisms. So I'm not comfortable doing an impression of him because I know I won't do a good job, and I don't want to seem really, really stupid. So maybe I'll do an impression of Jalen Rose doing this instead, because I'll make fun of Jalen Rose and be like, do this in this way. It's like, all right, y'all, listen, Scotty and Pascal can't coexist on this Raptors team. I don't know why y'all don't get this. There's not enough balls for both of them. Why would you have them both on the same team? Is that kind of what you wanted? I can't do Kendrick, but I'll do Jalen. I'll do Jalen. So I'll do Jalen Rose instead. Sorry if that's a discount for what you wanted. All right, let me read some more up on the Coaches Challenge stuff, y'all, because I found some really interesting, crazy information about all this. Like, let me do some quotes real quick about like this whole Coaches Challenge stuff, like how often things happen. This is from maybe the first year of the challenge. So these are kind of old quotes. Like, coaches have a 75% success rate on out of bounds challenges. Meanwhile, only 44% success rate on foul challenges. So that's what I'm saying. If you're going to challenge something, challenge out of bounds, because you're more likely to win that. The fouls, you do have less than half percent chance to win foul calls. So this is really, really important to keep in mind. And once again, even challenging foul calls, you may win it and you don't get any real reward from it. It's just a jump ball in the middle of the court or something like that. So that kind of stuff is important. Very, 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 very important. Now, it's such a tough job to try and analyze whether they should call a challenge in a split second. And that is a coach's job on the team. And the team this year, it should be Jama, because Jama did it for Steve Kerr in Golden State the last couple of years. So I think that's what's going to happen again this year for the Raptors. Our challenge coach will be Jama. And you may see Darko turn to Jama at some point this season and look at him, and you'll either see Jama go, or that's basically them deciding whether they should do the challenge or not. And the challenge coach really gets that discretion. Honestly, they have to trust them, and they have to kind of be like, all right, how are you doing with this? And maybe if they're not doing a good job as a challenge coach, they switch. Okay, no, you can't do it anymore because you didn't do a good job. And we're going to let this assistant coach do the challenge job for a little while instead, because it's kind of like you're, with this. Let's see. So what else? There was some other thing that was really, really interesting about this whole thing with the challenges that I'm somehow not remembering. It's something that blew me away. Hang on. Let me just see if I can find it. I'm trying to remember. A lot of the challenge coach for each team, they really have to learn the playbook, the rule book, the referee's rule book. And they have to be like lawyers that like study the document and know it inside out. And if y'all don't realize, the NBA's referee rule book is like crazy. It's like the size of the CBA, like hundreds and hundreds of papers. And there's just so much to it. But these guys got to learn it like law, like a lawyer learns it. And then that has to be part of the whole split second analysis of whether to call the challenge call also, is kind of like, I have to remember every single clause and rule in the NBA referees handbook, because they'll cite something and they'll be like, oh my gosh. In the beginning, they didn't know if the coach's challenge was going to be successful, but then they realized that actually it's been really successful, because in some ways the coaches actually did better with the challenges and getting successful challenges done than they had actually projected. They thought, the coaches will challenge, but they won't be getting, they're actually getting like winning challenges at a higher percentage than they thought they would. So it's been very fruitful in some ways. So in a kind of a wrap up about the coaches challenge stuff, in some ways, the new rule of having two challenges makes it smarter to take one early in the first half. And especially because the chances of winning a challenge in the first half are much higher than the second half. And also, if there's a problem with the referees establishing calls early with how they're going to call contact, in some ways, this was very useful for Nick last year as our coach, to call them out on it early, to change kind of the way the refs call the whole entire game later on. If you wait too long and they establish this is how they're going to call the game of contact, you may not be able to do anything about it, and you're really handcuffed. So in some ways, this is the way to call them on it. And especially if you can do it and you're successful, but there's a gamble. If you call them on it early and they say no, you lose your challenge for the rest of the game. And that's part of the worry about doing it too early. And then there's the whole idea of like holding on to it absolutely for any situation that you absolutely need it in the most dire situation, but then you play the whole game and you never use it. That's another side to it too. Is you may have certain coaches that don't use coaches challenges as often because they kind of use it as a last resort and end all be all. And then, they may not be using it for the right reasons and they don't get successful, or they just don't use them at all, hardly. Some coaches may not use the coaches challenge very often, but I would use it because it's a very smart weapon. The coaches challenge coach on each staff is supposed to figure out how to weaponize it to use for the team to the best advantage. This is like the Celtics coaches challenge coach was saying. They came to me, Brad Stevens, and they said, weaponize this for our team. Figure out how we can use the challenges to weaponize for the Celtics. So there are teams out there that are thinking about how to use it in a very strategical, tactical way. So it would be smart for our team to do the same. And, us talking about this today shows that, maybe we're a little bit different than other fan nations because we're getting in depth on the coach's challenge and how to use it to best benefit the Raptors. So very interesting stuff. Of course, this ongoing research with this new season with 2 challenges now and seeing how this affects the game and such. So we'll have to come back. The jury's still out and learn more about coaches' challenges, what works, what doesn't, and we'll learn more and we'll talk about it as it comes along. So we will revisit this subject during the season for sure. All right, let's see. Fiercey's laughing at my Jalen Rose impression. Raptors got Grady and Javon. Seems they are going for buckets and not so focused on defensive-minded players first right now. Think with our defense, this will provide better balance, teach each other. Yeah, I think we've been very defensive oriented and not as offensive oriented in the last couple of years. We can tell. And any kind of more, in some ways, even if they're not totally the defensive package as most of our players, that was a prerequisite. And that kind of hurt our offense in some ways. You have to be a good defender to be a Raptor. And that may have made our offense suffer. In some ways, we need a little bit of diversity. And maybe we need a very good scorer who may not be a very good defender. In some ways that's something we've lacked for sure. Monique is here. Good to see Superfan Monique Lawrence, the greatest. Good morning, everyone. And Nick Nurse sucked at challenges, and second one is the best choice. Hello, Darko. Yeah. So later game challenges should really be about like possession challenges, like out of bounds call that's egregious. Definitely call that and keep the possession. If you really want to save a player from getting a late foul that may put them out of the game, sure, try and protect them. But those challenges are more likely to lose, and you're going to lose the player anyway. So it really is a kind of like I said earlier, it's like a gambler who goes into a casino in Vegas and they're hedging their odds on every single hand of blackjack and figuring out what their chances are with this and this. It's the same way for Coach's Challenge. We got to hedge our odds and figure out what is the best decision in a split second of reading all the parameters and the different factors in that specific very instant. And that's very much like a gambler in a casino in Vegas. That if they're doing odds in their heads, they're a numbers guy, if somebody knows how to count cards like Rain Man, then they kind of read the landscape and they make their decisions based on that. So this is the same kind of mentality that a Coach's Challenge coach has to have on the staff also. Thanks for joining me and talking about Coach's Challenges today. Lots of fun today. Thank you, Cowboy. Good morning to you also. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And tomorrow I'll be back for a Monday moment, and we'll see what we're talking about. And then, of course, Tuesday Trivia on Tuesday. I appreciate everybody joining me for a Sunday report today. Thanks for all your comments, your super chats, and just a general sunshine and wisdom and shared here. I really do appreciate it. It's such a two-way street. And you guys are all a big part of it. Have a great day, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Have a blessed day. Can't wait to watch the Raptors. I think you're in the same boat as us, Bradley. Can't wait to get that Raptors basketball back on TV and see our guys excel, win games under Coach Darko and the new regime. That's right, y'all. Let's go.